Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we are doing something a little bit different. Today we are going over the Splendid Spring book tag by Victoria Mann. I will link her down below. So instead of just being a book review, we are just going to go over the questions and then we are going to talk about the books that I chose for this book tag. And we're just enjoying some fresh air. Today, instead of the super duper handy dandy notebook, I have our super duper handy dandy binder. So for the Splendid Spring book tag, the first question is: everywhere you look, flowers are blooming. Choose a book you love with flowers on the cover. I would have to say flowers on the cover for a book for me would have to be something along the lines of Shield of Sparrows. I don't have a physical book. It does have flowers. It's not entirely filled with flowers, but I think that's okay. Should be. And I did thoroughly enjoy Shield of Sparrows. It does have a bit of a mystery aspect to it, but after I read the book and did my review, I learned that the author of Shield of Sparrows, she actually did mysteries before she wrote her fantasy debut. So that was cool to learn, which made perfect sense for that. Now, for our second question. Spring is the perfect time for a fun trip. Choose a book you've read or would like to read while traveling from place to place. So this has been many, many moons ago. I read this a long time ago while I was still in high school, and I loved it then. I hope I still love it now when I do my reread. But I would have to say my book of choice for this would be Graceling by Kristen Cashore. It just has such a nice springy cover to it now. They changed the cover than what the original used to be. But I would like to read this while traveling because I remember enjoying the storyline so much. And what it centers around is that people with what's known as graces, that's why they're called gracelings, they have special abilities or special skills, and that makes them valuable. And our female protagonist, her name is Katsa. Her grace just so happens to be unaliving people. So that's what makes Katsa so intriguing. But I do really love the cover. Take a look. Alrighty, so our next question. Question number 3. Who doesn't love a good spring fling? Choose a book you were obsessed with for a short period of time, but then you swiftly cast it aside. This also goes way back because I haven't really had any books that I think of now that would be I was obsessed with and then I've quickly cast them aside. Most of the time I do enjoy my books thoroughly, and then it's just like they slowly get put aside, but it's not like I'm obsessed and bye. So my choice for this would obviously be the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer. I was obsessed with this in high school. I adored Twilight. I don't know why. My favorite out of the series would be Eclipse, but still, it counts. Twilight counts, right? Right? I don't know. So that would be my choice of these books, of being obsessed and then quickly cast aside. Now we will move on to our next question because I don't want to talk about Twilight anymore. Question number 4. Everyone loves the smell of freshly mowed grass, but not at an ungodly hour. Choose a book that personifies a middle-aged dad waking up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday to mow the lawn when he should be sleeping like the rest of us. This one might be a little bit of a surprise. It'll make sense once I explain why. So, I chose Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas simply because of Kel. Because Kel likes to get up at the butt crack of dawn and go for a run and drag Selena along so she can get stronger and run and keep training with him. I don't want to be awake at that hour either. If I had the choice and if I had the ability, I would not get out of bed before 8 o'clock. But that's not possible for me. But Throne of Glass and Kel. Moving on to question number 5. A surprise rain shower might spoil your outdoor fun, but don't worry, the sun will be back. Choose a book that made you really sad, but the sun still shines in the end. I've got one that's probably controversial to everybody. I do have a very specific book that I chose for this. Please don't come for me. This is just my opinion and how I felt about it, and I am going to put a review out on this book. I just haven't finished yet because man is it massive. And my choice of book for this was Alchemized by Sin Lin Yu. I thought this was the perfect book for that prompt simply because of what Kane Farron and Helena Marino had to go through the entire time that they were participants in the war and the war efforts and getting through that. Everything that they had to sacrifice, everything that they had to do, it was awful. But in the end, they got their happier ending. It didn't end in tragedy. It's not perfect, but they did get to live out their lives with each other. They had a daughter, even though the circumstances for conceiving said daughter was not that great. It wasn't great. It was awful. I hated that part of the book, and it was worse when I looked back on it after everything. Yeah. I'm not going to say anymore. But Alchemized by Sinlin Yu. This was my sunshine at the end, and I loved Amaris. Amaris, if I could have you as a pet, I would. You're adorable. Question number 6, or prompt number 6 is, it's that time of year when all the animals stretch their limbs and come out of hibernation. Choose a book that pulled you out of a reading slump. Okay, so for this one, I also don't have a physical copy of the book, but for me, this would be Quicksilver by, oh, I don't remember her name. I don't remember the author's name. Anyways, Quicksilver. I saw it on TikTok. This is not sponsored. None of these are sponsored, but if you have inquiries or would like to sponsor me, then please hit me up. I would be thrilled. Anyhow, I was in a reading slump. I hadn't been reading much at the time, and then I come across Quicksilver on TikTok. Everybody was raving about it. They were crazy as the moon over it. I've already read a few books that were recommended on Book Talk, and I was not a fan. So I didn't really have high hopes for Quicksilver, but in the end, it did turn out being a good read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was happy with it. Now, going on to prompt number 7. Students all over exhale a sign of relief knowing that they get a break from school. Choose a book whose friend group you'd like to spend spring break with. I will also put an image up of this book because I do not have a physical copy of it. I read this while I was still doing my degree requirements studying. So books that other than textbooks were out of the question at that time, and I thrived off of Kindle non-sponsored. Please sponsor me so I can read more. Anyhow, I would love to spend spring break with the Fourth Wing Squad. I know this probably sounds crazy. I feel like they would be so much fun to hang out with in a spring break setting just because they seem like really fun and outdoorsy people. I feel like they'd go to the beach with you and just have a blast, or I don't know, maybe go up to the mountains and have a blast. Who wouldn't want to go have a blast on the beach? I know that just from the characters themselves, they do seem pretty sassy, so I feel like they'd be fun and just make fun of each other. A little bit bullying, I'm sure. Make fun of each other while still having a great time, and they wouldn't easily get their feelings hurt. And I think that's important, especially when it comes to spring break. Now, prompt number 8. We have spring is all about rebirth and blooming. Choose a book that made you grow as a person. A book that made me grow as a person, I think that would probably be When the Moon Hatched, because this book did test my limits as far as the lyracy of the writing goes. It made me grow as a person when it came down to comprehending the material because of all of the additional descriptions that were thrown in that were not really necessary, but they did work for the book, and digging the plot out from within all of the lyracy that is written in When the Moon Hatched. Prompt number 9. A picnic at the park is the perfect springtime activity. Choose a book with a character who you think would pack the best picnic basket. So I know I already mentioned this book once. I'm sorry, but it is relevant. I promise. I promise. And it is Throne of Glass. Why? Because Selena, after everything she's gone through, being in the salt mines, just nearly starving to death, all of that, I know she's going to pack a mean picnic basket. But also, throughout the book, we get the description of how much she loves food. And it's not just in this book, it goes into book 2, and I'm sure it goes into all of the other books. But Selena loves food, especially chocolate cake, and I can get behind some chocolate cake. Now, prompt number 10. For many, spring is the first break from the bitterness of winter. Choose a book that is the embodiment of sunshine. This one's kind of hard because personally, my reading taste, they aren't that much of sunshine. They are pretty dark, if you can't tell. It's mostly fantasy and battle related, among horror, some horror-esque elements, gothic literature, but mostly fantasy, which means there's magic, there's battles, weapons, armor, those kinds of things. So as far as embodiment of sunshine goes, I don't really have anything for that, so we're gonna have to skip this for now, and we're gonna jump into these bonus questions. So for our bonus questions, the first one is, the world around us is being reborn right before our eyes. Choose a book whose movie or TV adaptation reignited a dormant obsession. So for this one, I will have to say Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo, and this is because I was just scrolling through Netflix. Once again, this is non-sponsored. And I was just scrolling through Netflix one day. I was bored. I wanted something good to watch. I didn't want to read. I just wanted to not engage any activity. I just wanted to be a potato that day. So I was just scrolling and I come across Shadow and Bone. I clicked on it, I started watching it, fell in love instantly. I love that show. It was so well done. I haven't read the books by Lee Bardugo, but I do plan on it eventually. I just haven't gotten there yet. I'm behind on my reading this year, to be honest. Bonus question number 2. There couldn't be a more perfect time to discard cluttering items with a little spring cleaning. Choose a book you've held onto for far too long, either physically or in your heart. Okay, so I'm not completely throwing this out the window, but I have had this book sitting in my e-reader for like over a year, and that is Onyx Storm. I have not read Onyx Storm. I bought it not long after it came out, but I never got around to reading it just because I felt like I didn't remember enough of what went on in Fourth Wing and Iron Flame to jump straight into Onyx Storm, so I wanted to reread the previous 2 installments before jumping into Onyx Storm and take better notes so I know what's going on when book 4 comes out, whenever that may be, without having to reread the entire series again, because I'm having to do that a lot lately. So Onyx Storm is getting put on the back burner for now, just because I don't know, because I had to reread the other books for now. Alright, so bonus question 3. Spring is the perfect time to try something new. Choose a book that features an activity you'd like to try or a place you'd like to go. So I do have a book. You might not be pleased with my answer. I like my answer. And I chose Aragon by Christopher Paolini. This was one of my first loves as far as reading fantasy goes, and it will forever live in my heart. I loved the inheritance cycle. I haven't read Murtagh yet, and I'm ashamed of that, but it's been almost 11 years since I originally read this series. Saphira, my baby. Anyway, Aragon. Who wouldn't want to ride a dragon through the Spine Mountains? Because I do, and that is the activity that I am choosing that I would like to try. Because in all of my other books, the activities include archery, knife throwing, sword fighting, and I know some of you are like, have you already done all this? Some of it, yes, I've done archery. I haven't never had any classes, but I kind of taught myself. My uncles are proficient archers when it comes to hunting, so you know what? I'm pleased. Knife throwing, you go to the flea market, you get a set of throwing knives or ninja stars, and you just set up a target somewhere, or I don't know. You could throw it at your wall or side of the house. I chose a tree. Do as you will. But be careful because they do come back sometimes. Same with axes. Be careful. Be warned. Do not throw sharp objects at other people. It is dangerous for you and them. Sword fighting. Also, I've never had any sword fighting classes. I'm not a martial artist. I wish I was, but I'm not. I didn't have that opportunity growing up. My opportunity included playing the piano, learning how to play the piano, and art stuff. My parents were terrified I was going to break my arms and legs off if I did martial arts because I was a bony child. So, with that said, sword fighting, no official classes, no fencing, no martial arts, but I did go to a Ren fair with my younger brother. He's 19, by the way, and we bought four, I think they're high density foam swords while at the Ren fair because we are 4 siblings in a household. And let me tell you, those things are painful, okay? Thank God we didn't buy the wooden ones because I would have died. Yes, the foam swords leave bruises if you get hard enough, but you get faster and you learn how to dodge and parry and submit your own attacks at the cost of fingers and legs. So, dragon riding. Always. That's my activity. I will always choose dragon riding. We are moving on to bonus question number 4. Springtime may be lovely, but the allergies it brings are not. Choose a book with a side character or second POV character whose presence is unwanted. I know I've already mentioned. Oh my god. I've already mentioned this book twice. I'm going to mention it again because it's the most recent read that I've had. And that would be Lady Caltaine in Throne of Glass, just because of how whiny and incessant she is. And it's so irritating and gets under my skin so bad. And I know I should be more patient with her because I know it's coming, but I can't help it. She just gets under my skin and it's like, ah. And for our last bonus question, we have, with each new season comes a new color scheme, and spring does best with pastels. Choose a book with a pastel cover that you loved or think you will love. So I know it asks for pastel colors, like we can see here, but this book isn't really pastel colored. Most of my books are not. They're on the darker aspect of coloration, but it did make me think of spring, and I guess it's just the flowers. And that is The Poet Empress by Shen Tao, and I look forward to reading this. The concept of this story and the magic system, the way it's set up from what we can gather from the synopsis on this book, is so interesting. I can't wait to read this. But if you can see the flowers, they do make me think of spring. Everything on here just makes me think of spring. I know it's not pastel, so I brought an extra. And To cover the pastel aspect of colors, we have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I also look forward to reading this. This will be my first cozy fantasy where our librarian actually saves the Great Library along with her sentient spider plant, where she takes as many spell books as she can from this Great Library to her homeland when a rebellion breaks out and they begin to burn down her library. So she takes these spell books, but no one is supposed to have them outside of the Great Library. And Kiela, that's the FMC's name, she begins using the magic from these spell books, but apparently it's illegal, and opens the first ever and much needed secret spell shop on the island. So this just seems like such a fun read, and I'm looking forward to it. Look at that cover. It just blends into the background. It's so springy. So it's also not very pastel-y, but you know what? I'll count the purple. The purple and the little bee flower details. Oh, gorgeous. Love it. All right, and that is it for our Splendid Spring book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed and got some good ideas of what to read. I hope you're inspired to make your own spring book tag. I haven't seen very many of them yet, but I hope I see more. And if anything, take it as an opportunity to wear something that you have that you really love, but you have nowhere to wear it to, because that's what this is, okay? I'm going to be a pretty princess outside while I can, because why not? I hope you enjoyed this book tag, and I hope I'll see you back next time. Thank you for being here with me today. Please hit that like and subscribe button down below, and I will see you next time.